Hello everyone, this is Gene and I'm back with another video. So this is a rare outside video, and it's an even rarer video because I think it's the very first film review I've done for the channel. I don't go to the movies often. Last time I went to see a movie was back in March of 2017 when I went to see the live action version of Beauty and the Beast, and I was not impressed with that film. So I just came back from, I just came out of the movie theater. I'm actually standing hugged up next to a wall of the theater. But I just saw the Sonic film, and I just wanted to give my very quick, I guess you could say hot take of it. The film is, I'm just going to be honest, it's meh. It's okay. It's the type of film you watch when you're home on the weekend, you're kind of bored, but you don't want to go out, right? And it's a rainy day, and it happens to air on TV, and so you watch it to kill the time. That, in my opinion, is the type of film that the Sonic film is. It's not worth the $20 that I spent to see it. And I probably spent around, at least, I would say between $50 and $60 if you count the ticket itself. You count the $15 that I paid in movie food, right? And then you count the $10 that I paid for like a pre-dinner that I had before, and then you count bus fare there and back. So I think in the end it probably adds up to probably around $60. It was not worth. It's not worth spending $60 on, especially if you're like me and you went by yourself. So I'm gonna try to give a quick overview of the film and what I liked and what I didn't like. I'm going to try to speak in generalities and avoid spoilers, but at the same time there'd be spoilers, right? So you're warned. So let me start with what I liked about the film, right? Okay, first of all, Sonic looks great. He looks great. I'm so glad that they listened to the fans and they fixed him up. He looks great in every scene. The special effects in general, I thought were very good. There are some really cool moments, especially when Sonic, there are several scenes where Sonic is moving so fast that everyone else seems to be in slow motion, and so he sort of uses that to wreak havoc and all this other stuff. So those scenes are really nice. There's a nice scene where toward the end of the film, it's say the build up to the big fight, or one of the first big fights between Sonic and Robotnik, and Jim Carrey, who's playing Robotnik, is in he's in the one of the robots, right? So it definitely is a visual callback to like the boss theme. Well, not the theme, the boss level, right? Where Robotnik flies in, right? And then he has his little assistant bots and all that to sort of fight with him while Sonic is trying to defeat them. So that was a nice visual callback. The soundtrack is good in my opinion, but at the same time, the soundtrack is a lie. And what I mean by that is, if you saw the trailers, the soundtrack you would believe from the trailers. First, for the original trailer last year, they had Gangsta's Paradise. For the new one that they did once they fixed Sonic, they used the song Supersonic by JJ Fad. So you would think that it's going to have this very, 80s, 90s hip-hop soundtrack. No, there was not one 80s, 90s hip-hop song in the film. This film actually has a very, I would say, 70s classic rock soundtrack. In fact, they play one of my favorite Queen songs like 10 minutes into the film. Now, I don't mind the fact that it has a 70s classic rock soundtrack, nor do I mind that they're playing Queen. They must have paid the band a lot of money to license the song, but at the same time, it's a bit of false advertising, right? The trailers say, 90s hip hop, 80s hip hop, right? But the music in the film is anything but, right? So there's that. Now, here, I think that's about all of the positives I can think of. Sonic looks good. I like the soundtrack, even if it is sort of a bait and switch, and the special effects are good. Now, here's what I didn't like. First of all, Jim Carrey. Jim Carrey is playing Robotnik, and the best thing I can say is that Jim Carrey is playing Robotnik the same way he played Riddler in, what was it, Batman Forever? It was either Batman Forever or Batman and Robin. I forget which one he was in, but I know he played the Riddler in one of them. So, yeah, I'm not quite happy about that. But here's the thing. I already know going in that Jim Carrey is one of those guys where you either love him or you hate him, right? It's one or the other. And I accept that. I knew that I wasn't going to like his performance. He doesn't do awful. He's just Jim Carrey. And Jim has I've just never been a fan of his brand of humor. He plays Robotnik. I don't think this is his fault. I think this is just the direction he was given. He plays Robotnik as this very snooty, arrogant guy constantly throwing his intelligence in other people's faces, right? But he can't fight back himself. So there's that. So yeah, there's that. The biggest problem for me with this film was the storytelling aspect. The story itself is not bad. It's pretty much what I expected. Sonic leaves the Green Hill Zone, right? He leaves the Green Hill Zone and he comes to our world and he ends up in a town, or at least the story takes place mainly in a town, interestingly enough, also called Green Hill. There's a lot of references to different things. Like there's a sign he has that's like says like Hilltop Road and things like that. But he basically ends up in our world. So the way the film starts is that he's living in whatever land, whatever world Sonic lives in originally. And he's living an idyllic life, right? Running around as he does. And we find out that he has an owl mother named Longclaw or something like that. So, and again, I'm not familiar with the Sonic canon, so I have no idea if that's in bounds or not. But I just found it odd. I'm like, an owl mother? Is this supposed to be Sonic or Metroid? Because I know Samus has basically bird dads who like adopted her. So that just felt very weird. But he's told by his owl mother that he has to hide his powers because there are evil people who are looking for him. And then he laments the fact that he unintentionally led them to their lair, right? And owl mother Longclaw dies trying to protect him, and the last thing she does is that she gives him this bag of gold rings and tells him that he needs to escape to a different world, right, to protect himself. So he uses one of the rings and it opens up and leads to Earth, right? So first of all, the original bad guys, right, that track him down and that kill Longclaw are never featured in the film again. And he never really makes any reference or mention of them. You would think that at some point he would, at least want to find out what happened to them, or that they would factor into the film somehow. They don't. Literally, they are just there to set up his origin story and explain why he came to Earth. They never factor into the film again. And one would think, well, maybe, since they have Robotnik in the film, right, maybe he somehow contacts them to work together, right? Sort of merging like the current villain in Robotnik with the original villain from the beginning of the movie, but they never show up again. And he never seems all that torn up about Longclaw's death. So that was a little bothersome, and I get it. It's meant to be a more lighthearted film, and I understand that, and I like that about it, but lighthearted should not mean senseless. You still have to tell a good story, even if there are certain things that you are trying to downplay. And the fact that he never really seems to mourn Longclaw, who again was his mother for all intents and purposes, is weird. There's a lot of lip service in the film given to how he had to run from his original home, and now he has to leave Earth, and he doesn't want to go to the Mushroom Planet, which of course is a dig at Nintendo, which now owns Sega, or at least owns the Sonic property. So yeah, there's small little references like that, but they don't really factor into the film in any major way. So what happens is that so the whole beginning part where he has to leave his homeworld, right? It's very Superman-esque, right? The beginning where he has to leave his homeworld happens, and then it says, but he's shown as a cute little baby, right? Little baby hedgehog. And then it says 10 years later. And mentally, I'm thinking, BS. There is no way with his characterization, right? He's shown to be very needy, very emotional. When he gets upset, he goes, I guess you could say supersonic. It's not the video game version of supersonic where, he turns yellow and all that. He just starts with like the electric blue glow, right? So whenever he's feeling very strong emotion, and that happens to him. It happens like two or three times in the film. Sorry for the city noises, I'm outside. So, you want me to believe that in the 10 years, he's supposedly been hiding on Earth, right? Supposedly he's been hiding on Earth for 10 years. And in 10 years, no one in this small town, well, there's like one person, but still, you're telling me that in all this time, there were no blackouts, there were no sightings, and it's only now in this film where, like, all of a sudden, all the stuff that should have been happening over the 10-year period of him being on Earth happens. Come on now, don't insult the audience's intelligence just because they're kids. And at least from what I saw in the theater I was in, there were a lot of kids in the theater, a lot of parents bringing their kids to see it. And honestly, although the movie keeps trying to drop joke after joke after joke, which I think is another problem, it's trying too hard to be funny. Instead of just letting things play out and rest and land as they will, they keep trying to make it funny. That's not how humor works. Right, so there's that. But the kids didn't laugh too often. There were a few things here and there, but they really weren't laughing all that much, and neither were the adults. I think I laughed exactly once. I think it was that scene with probably one of the humans. So, anyway, we find out that Sonic is hiding in this small town called Green Hill, and that he's pretty much been spying on this young family, this husband and... Shoot. Sorry about that. He was spying on this husband and wife because, he's lonely and he wants to be part of their family. Which is okay, I understand that. But the problem is that, again, they never allow the moment, to do what I'm doing right now, which is sit. Instead of allowing us to watch Sonic, watch them, and allowing us to see his loneliness, right? They constantly tell us how lonely he is and that he's spying on them. For example, it opens with him spying on the husband, right? He's the cop who's featured in the in the trailers, he's played by James Marsden, I think. Whenever I think of James Marsden, I always think of when he played Cyclops in the early X-Men films. But anyway, so it's shown that he's spying on him, but immediately tells us that he's spying on him. Right? It doesn't allow us to just watch and see and come to our own conclusions, right? Whenever something happens, especially when it's an emotional moment, it has to tell us. It has to tell us what Sonic is feeling. And I'm like, don't insult your audience like that. Just because the audience is going to be filled with children doesn't mean that children can't get the point. Maybe they don't understand the deeper concepts, but they understand stuff like sadness and loneliness and things like that. So let them just watch and just, come to it on their own, but the film doesn't do that. When there is literally a part early in the film where he's basically playing a psychiatrist to himself, and he tells himself that he's basically stalking this husband and wife because he's lonely and he wants a family. Now, this isn't like some sort of, and again, at the beginning of the film, this isn't like some sort of big moment of realization or introspection. He's literally telling us what his motivations are. And I'm like, that's not how storytelling works. Show, don't tell. Show, don't tell. So anyway, what happens is that he ends up sneaking into like a kid's softball game or whatever. He watches the game, and he wants a family. Right? It's emphasized very early that he's terribly lonely. So he watches the kids play. Then he has the moment which you've seen in the trailers where he's playing baseball by himself, and it's actually quite sad, especially at the end where he wins the game, right? And he raises his hand in victory, but then there's no one there to give him a high five. Excuse me. So it really emphasizes his loneliness, and then he starts running so fast that he causes a blackout, basically. And the blackout, because it happens like, I guess, countrywide or something, gets the attention of the military, and the military sends in Robotnik. And Robotnik, right, is quirky, annoying, intelligent, right? Again, it's Jim Carrey when he played the video. So if you like that, you'll like this. If you didn't like that, you're not gonna like this. So that's that. He keeps emphasizing how intelligent he is and how dumb everybody else is. Pretty much what you expect from a guy. Thank you. From a guy as intelligent as Dr. Robotnik, as played by Jim Carrey. So Jim tries to find Sonic because he wants to experiment on him, and Sonic he realizes that his time is up on Earth. He's been discovered. He has to now go to the mushroom planet that he doesn't want to go to, and he tries to run away, right? He tries to find a moment to take the rings and use the rings basically work as portable interdimensional portals. And to be honest, this part really irked me because outside of being used as little pocket portals, the rings don't really factor in. He doesn't have to collect them. He doesn't have to worry about how many of them are being used. There's a point where he loses them, but it never really factors into anything. It's not like Robotnik finds them and uses them or anything. There's no risk. Woo! There's no risk with the God, it's cold out here. As I was saying, there's no risk really involved with the rings, right? They're just a MacGuffin. They don't even have that much sentimental value to them. You would think that he wouldn't want to lose them because they're like the last thing Longclaw gave him. But not even that. Every time he mentions them, he references the fact that he has to use one so he can go to the mushroom planet, although he doesn't want to, and escape. And they're used several times towards the end of the film. And again, it's not like they ever run out or take it to the wrong place. There's no risk involved with them. So anyway, Sonic runs to the police officer. I believe his name is Tom, right? And Tom's a good guy. He's actually smarter than I thought he would be, because the film in the beginning really plays him as like an immature brat. He's like playing with like the speed gun to like catch when people are speeding. It shows him playing with it. So I really thought they were going to play him up to sort of be like a dope. But he really isn't. He makes a lot of bad jokes, but everybody in this film makes bad jokes. So that's far from unique to him. So so Sonic breaks into Tom's house. And Tom, finds him quickly because, of course, Sonic's going to make a racket, right? So Tom finds him quickly, and he has a tranq gun, which apparently is the property of his wife, who apparently is a vet, although we're not told she's a vet until Sonic conveniently needs medical attention, which she rightly points out she can't provide because she's never dealt with anything like him. But the thing is that even when he's injured, he doesn't, it's nothing is serious. That's the thing. None of the emotional beats or none of the stuff that should be played seriously. Like, there's like 2 or 3 times in the film where like he gets knocked out by like a close explosion, right? And we're supposed to buy into the fact that he's seriously injured or close to death or whatever, but we don't see anyone dress his wounds. Even when the girlfriend, the wife, Tom like begs her, it's like, help him, check him out. And she's like checking his like bones and everything, and she's like, no bones are broken, he's fine, he's just unconscious, right? Nothing is ever played seriously in this film, and that really hurts it. But anyway, so Robotnik keeps chasing them down, and basically Tom is reluctant to help Sonic at first. And what happens is that Sonic, when Tom shoots him in the leg, because they startle each other, so Tom shoots him in the leg with the tranq dart, and one of the rings fall out, and Sonic Weasley goes San Francisco, because apparently this is where Tom is going to move to, and Tom is happy he's going to move there, so he's wearing this San Francisco shirt. Sonic says it right before he passes out, and his bag of rings end up in San Francisco. And Tom initially is reluctant to help Sonic, despite the fact that he too is heading to San Francisco. It would be different if they weren't heading in the same place, but they are, so his reluctance, at least in the beginning, doesn't make much sense. But Robotnik gets them branded, or at least gets Tom branded as a terrorist, but even then, it's like the only person really sent after them, although they are now supposedly terrorists, is Robotnik himself. You would think that like every police officer, every member of law enforcement would be hunting these guys down, but that never happens. So there's a lot of angst, I would say. Sonic emphasizing how lonely he is, and there's like one part where Tom sort of like kicks him out, and he's like, we aren't friends, you're not worth the trouble. Sonic gets upset, but it just, nothing sticks, nothing lands, there's no emotional beats. And by the way, the voice acting for Sonic was not good, in my opinion, and that's because it wasn't the sound of the guy's voice that wasn't the problem. The problem is that he says everything, with very few exceptions, he says nearly everything with the same tone of voice. It doesn't matter whether Sonic is supposed to be happy or angry or upset or surprised or near tears. He always has the same tone of voice. It's very energetic. Hey, hey, hey! And I'm like, okay, I get it, right? He's a needy kid, which totally goes against all the characterization that I ever knew for Sonic from the TV show and the games, but I guess they wanted to make him more sympathetic. But his tone of voice never really changes all that much. So anyway, eventually there's a battle where I was really hoping to, because this is when Jim Carrey actually dresses up as Robotnik. He has the red suit on. And I was really hoping they would do the boss music, right? That dun da 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 da, that thing. Nope. There's exactly one piece of Sonic music. That's at the very end where they play this very nice piano version of the Green Hill Zone theme. But yeah, I mean, the film is just, high on special effects, very low on storytelling. So, Sonic and Robotnik, they really don't fight. Sonic just, makes a fool of him, which I guess does make sense given the character. And ends up staying in small little town, and then the family decides, or rather the wife and Tom decide to make Sonic a part of the family. And honestly, that's probably the most emotional moment of the film. It's literally at the very end when they show Sonic that, hey, this is your home now. It's a very, how you have these shows on TV, like these home makeover shows, and you have that moment toward the end of the episode where the family walks into their home and they're shocked to see it. And it's like that. Like you ever seen the kids in those type of episodes, how they walk into their room? It's very similar to that, and it is sincerely touching. But it's the only emotional scene that sticks, that fits. And there were other ones earlier in the film, the baseball scene. There's one where Sonic is being hunted by Robotnik's robots, and he's trying to hide in Tom's house, and he looks absolutely terrified. But they never stick with it. They immediately move on to something else. This movie would have really benefited if they had just let things play out naturally instead of just letting it happen and then boom, right? Just moving on or explaining the joke, or in this case, explaining the emotion. Sonic is sad. Sonic is lonely. Sonic is stalking this young married couple, and they literally tell you these things. So yes, there are a lot of references and callbacks, and that's all well and good, but references and callbacks do not a good movie make. And I was honestly hoping for more Sonic in this. I was expecting hoping for like some of the music, but all they literally get is just the Green Hill Zone theme. I don't know, maybe there was a licensing issue with Sega of Japan. It beats me. My favorite part of the whole film, honestly, was the end credits, because it's done in this very, 16-bit style, and it's showing several of the big fight scenes from the film. But it looks like it's from the old Sonic games. I thought that was so cool. And I wish there had been more of that. I guess the best way I can say it is that if you've ever seen the film Wreck-It Ralph, Wreck-It Ralph is probably one of my favorite films that have come out within maybe the past 10 years or so. Because that film was truly a love letter to the 8-bit and 16-bit era of video gaming. And you could see the passion in it. This film is not that. It's not Wreck-It Ralph. It's not a love letter to Sonic the Hedgehog or to the series or to the character. It's very Sonic light. I mean, yes, it has Robotnik and Sonic and references here and there. But To me, it's just very surface level. It doesn't feel like Sonic. That's the best way I can describe it. And I know it wasn't going to be like the video games, but on film, right? You figure that out the moment that they have Sonic come to Earth. But I was hoping for a lot more Sonic in Sonic. And I just find that it's very light. What I will say is that the film didn't insult my intelligence, right? I sat through it. And it has its moments, it has potential, but it's just, at least in my opinion, it's just very lacking. And it's very lacking because, again, as I've said several times, nothing is allowed to sit and breathe. Very little is actually played seriously. And for anybody who may see this video and go, well, it's a kid's film, that doesn't mean that it can't have a good story or have serious moments be played seriously or sad moments be played for sadness. Okay, remember the 90s Disney films, right? Beauty and the Beast, Aladdin, Lion King. They allowed those moments to sit, right? Mufasa's death, speaking of sitting, I finally found a place to sit. Mufasa's death, broke your heart, right? The big kiss at the end of Beauty and the Beast, makes you happy, right? And joyful. You can have these deep emotional moments in a kid's film. Even if you look at a film like Zootopia, which is another film I actually did enjoy. That was from 2015? It was maybe between 2013 and 2016, I think. I forget the exact year, but I know it's been within the past 10 years. Right? There's one scene in Zootopia toward the end where Nick and Judy have an argument, right? And it seems like their friendship is fractured, right? And it seems like their partnership is over, and right, she goes back to Nick and she's in tears, explaining that she was wrong and she was a fool and begging for his forgiveness. And you, at least to me, I saw that you feel that scene so much. And hell, the actress felt that scene a lot because she actually cried. She actually cried recording that scene. So the tears you are hearing from Judy are true. That's the actress crying. So you can have these deep emotional beats and moments and let them play out for what they are. But this film, again, doesn't do that. It follows in the, current trend of acting as if kids can't handle a bit of heaviness in a kid's film. Which I think, honestly, is to its detriment, because it could have been a really good film. It could have been. It has potential. But when you just leave it half-baked, well, this is what you get. Something that could have been really good, but in the end is just meh. So if I had to give it a letter grade, I would probably honestly give it a D-, because for everything that is good and that I liked, there's a lot more that is lacking and that I did not like, and I really, I don't know, I can't let it slide. I can't let it slide. I know that a lot of people are saying to go see this film, it's a good film, and that, see it to show that that Hollywood should listen to the fans, and that's all well and good, right? If you want to go see it, if you can overlook its flaws, as I walk through perpetual darkness, if you can overlook its flaws, I think, go ahead, watch it. But for me personally, if I had known going in, because I made it a point to not watch reviews, positive or negative, if I had known going in that it was going to be a very, in my opinion, lackluster and ultimately empty film, I would not have spent, nearly $3 on bus fare and $20 for a ticket and $15 for movie food and $10 prior to that and all this other money that I ended up spending. Do I regret going to see it? No, I don't. I sincerely regretted and hated ever spending money to see the Beauty and the Beast live action version. And I spent less on that because I didn't buy anything except for the ticket. So I don't regret going to see it. But would I go to see it again? No. Only way I would see this again is if I happen to catch it on TV and I'm bored. And I don't think either one is going to happen anytime soon. So anyway, this is my off the cuff, walking right after the film review of Sonic the Hedgehog. Let me know what you think, and I will see you all in the next one. Have a good night. Bye.